when it comes to finding sources for your final paper in this class, I want to take you through the process of using the Madonna University databases, and which databases will be especially helpful for a literature paper. So you can get to the library's webpage from multiple places. My portal can get you to it as well, but the route I always use is to just go to the quick links from the Madonna homepage, go down to library here, and then let it take you to the webpage. So once we're here, we do have a lot of different options. We can use the library catalog to see if they have any ebooks based on our topic. But I'm going to focus on showing you guys the databases, which you can access over here or over here on the column on the right here. So if we go to our tab, and we can go, if we know the name of the database, we can do it that way, but I want to show you guys an alternative route. So we see there's kind of this smaller print here, and we're going to click here where the link is, and then instead of going alphabetically or by vendor, we're going to go by subject. So when we get our list there, we're going to click on the arts and humanities, and it now gives us a list of databases that are specifically useful for arts and humanities research. And the ones that I'm going to focus on today are the Humanities Full Text, which is a version of EBSCOhost there, and the Literature Resource Center. I found those are the two most helpful for finding those Madonna-related literature sources. So if you're off campus, you will need to put in the password. You can find that password on my portal. It is usually the same as the Wi-Fi password for that semester. So it does change every semester, and again, you can get that on my portal if you're not sure, but it is identical to the Wi-Fi password. So once we've made it into these databases, we want to then start with our search terms. You can start with something as general as the author of the text you're looking at. Sometimes that can be really helpful because if you get too specific, sometimes we don't have access to some of those sources. So I'm going to be doing as an example Kate Chopin's The Awakening, which we did not read in class this year. So I might just start with something as simple as Kate Chopin, and then I would search. And so you see that I get, quite a few results about that author with her name popping up. And I'm going to be focusing on her book, The Awakening. So right here would be maybe a potential source for me to use. Now, I do have that PDF full text option. I would recommend checking off the full text option though, so you're not wasting your time looking at things that you can't actually access. Because unfortunately, if we don't have the full text available, it's unlikely you'll be able to find access to it another way. You'd have to put in a special request for that. So there, I still have 76 results, so maybe I want to make it a little bit more specific. So I might type in The Awakening, and let's say I wanted to talk about race and the way race assists the women in the novel, and they kind of have privilege as a result of their race. So here's the second one, Reading The Awakening with Toni Morrison. I know just from experience that Toni Morrison is a very famous African-American writer and critic, so that would probably give me a lot of good information, and I do have that PDF full text option. Again, this might be potentially useful. Kate Chopin and Anna Julia Cooper critiquing Kentucky and the South, because we see race relations in literature is one of the key words there. And then, of course, if you find a source you want to use there, you can open it as a PDF full text or an HTML full text, and then you'll have access to that article. So again, the big takeaway for EBSCOhost at least is to check off that full text option. And again, you can limit it to just scholarly journals, but sometimes, especially for a specific text or a specific database within EBSCOhost, it's good to keep it a little bit more general. So again, starting with the author or the title of your book can be a good place. And then if you've got, if you're not really finding anything that's quite right, you can try being a little bit more specific and bringing in maybe the topic or the theme, The Awakening in Women, The Awakening in Feminism. You could also just try typing in feminism to your searches and see what pops up. That is another possible option as well. Right, so again, maybe not quite relevant to your topics, but again, might be worth exploring some of these ideas or being more specific in feminism and novels or feminism and literature. So EBSCOhost and the Humanities Full Text was the name of the database on the list there. Right here is one really good one to use. Now the other one, the Literature Resource Center, which is down here, is going to be hosted by Gale, so kind of a different host. And they also have probably maybe more results than EBSCOhost and ones that are very much focused on literature. So if I type in, Kate Chopin, I'm going to get a lot of different options to pursue. As we can see, this menu looks a little bit different than EBSCOhost. We can see, though, on the side here that it sort of narrows the results down by topic. So you could have something like a biography, which is going to give us some information about Kate Chopin, that might be relevant to your research. Topic and work overviews. So again, it may be looking at one specific work and giving you some insights into that novel. And then literature criticism, that would be more kind of what we consider those academic journal articles, kind of giving us other authors' interpretations of those texts. So again, I want to get a little bit more specific here. So things like this will tell you biography, critical essay. So we'll tell you within that full text what you're kind of looking at. So even like this, an overview of The Awakening might give me some interesting insights into that work. So let's say, again, I want to look at The Awakening and race. Again, we start to see that Reading the Awakening with Toni Morrison pops up again. Okay, I'm not necessarily getting a... So race maybe isn't necessarily popping up here exactly, but I am getting one that are talking about the awakening, maybe bring in some nonfiction ideas. Here, talking about the sea, which is an important symbol in the awakening, so that might be worth pursuing. So again, I may not be getting the things for race that I want, but I am getting, the masculine sea. I'm getting some things that might be useful for another topic, or maybe I would change my topic based on the research that I'm finding. So again, let's say I want to look at the awakening in the Great October Storm of 1893. And so again, I get the full text kind of in a more HTML format here. And again, both databases have options to give you citation help. Usually, again, you always want to check, but usually the library database citations are very good. Almost always all the way correct, if not fully correct. So those can be helpful if you're sort of struggling with MLA. It will be doing the newer version of MLA, though. You can email it to yourself, download it to yourself so that you can find it again. Just copying and pasting this link is not a good idea because this is not a permanent link. So sometimes you go to put this link back in, it will not take you back to the article. So I really strongly recommend emailing it to yourself because it will send you a permanent link that way. Downloading it to your computer. You can create an account on the database to save it to. Or, you can send it to your Google Drive or your OneDrive, it looks like, as well now, or you could just do an old-fashioned print. But don't just copy and paste this link because it doesn't always work when you try to come back to it. And your last option, which can sometimes be helpful, but it's sort of hit or miss, is Google Scholar. So for Google Scholar, it's probably easiest to Google Scholar. Then as you can see here, I was using it earlier, so if I wanted to look at The Awakening and race again. So it does kind of give me some of these different articles that I could look at. Unfortunately, not everything on Google Scholar is available in full text. Oftentimes it's just giving you the names of these articles and you would then have to pay to access them. So for example, right, this sort of sounds appealing. Birth and Creativity, we can see that first page there. When we go to get access, we would have to sign up and then pay. I don't want you guys having to pay for articles. If you're finding yourself having that issue, don't spend money to get it. But again, if this is in the article, just as in JSTOR, Madonna actually has access to JSTOR, so that may be a clue then to you to go back to the databases and see if you can find this by typing in the title. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So again, Google Scholar can be interesting and useful kind of depending on your search and what you're looking for. So that can be another option you might pursue with your databases. And again, if you need any help or run into any issues, or you're trying to get this article that you really want access to, but you can't because we don't have access to it, let me know, and I can work with you to maybe try and find an alternative, or help you to find something if you're really struggling to find anything at all. And remember that we need at least 2 sources, and those 2 sources need to be academic in nature, meaning they're either coming from the Madonna databases or an academic source on Google Scholar there.